That's all the media and the politicians are ever talking about, the things that separate us. Race, religion, ethnic and national background, jobs, income, education, social status, sexuality. Anything they can do, keep us fighting with each other so that they can keep going to the bank.
People are going to be doing what they always do when the economy tanks. They will be blaming immigrants and poor people.
This country has proven resilient based on the fact that its foundation is the age of reason.
America is just now coming to grips with what unfolded here in the early morning hours here in Orlando.
In this city, thousands of demonstrators marched to protest the death of Eric Garner.
Breaking news, a fresh act of madness. The snipers hit 11 police officers.
Gun sales in this country are spiking in the aftermath of the San Bernardino terror attack.
We're bringing it on ourselves. And that's the thing. Al-Qaeda, all those guys, ISIS, they're not compared to the damage that we can do to ourselves on a regular basis.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 36 of the Age of Reason podcast, where we are not for the faint of thought. Alex, welcome back from Germany, man. How are you?
I'm good. Still a little fucked up, honestly, on the time travel thing.
Not like 10 hours ahead, travel, right?
Yeah, it was 9 hours, and then the way there wasn't too bad. I adjusted pretty quick, but I was up at like 3 in the morning last night and the night before, and I couldn't fall asleep all night. So it was like, it'll help because I'm getting back. I got to go back to work tonight, so I'm used to being up all night. But I just didn't get as much sleep as I was hoping to. But it was nice. It was beautiful over there. Beautiful buildings, beautiful women. God, there was a lot of beautiful women.
So, did you try any of the beer there? I saw you posted something on social media where like you went over there and you're still drinking hard alcohol. Did you at least try the beer?
I tried it, and I was actually in Bavaria, which is the most famous part of Germany for the beer, the hops, where they have Oktoberfest, and I was not impressed.
With the beer?
With the beer.
Was it warm?
It was chilled. It wasn't warm. It wasn't like ice is a freaking. I always hear the people talking and say, "Oh, there's no ice in Europe," and I think, whatever. It really is. When you ask for ice, they look at you like you're stupid.
So I know you've never been a beer drinker, but this stuff right here, this is called Dry Dock, and it's brewed over here. It's an apricot blonde beer. I'm becoming a bit of a connoisseur. I'm even trying French beers that we have over here. So when you come down here, whenever that happens, you're going to drink some beer. I'm going to find something that you like.
I went to the place of beer, and I was not impressed. And I don't know if you can call an apricot beer.
No, trust me.
I don't know. That
trust
sounds a
me.
little.
It's not a pussy drink. It's not a pussy drink. A little
questionable. I prefer my Johnny Walker Black.
As a friend of mine would put it, you haven't had beer till you've had it out of somebody's craft bathtub. All right, and that's what it's filled with over here. So it's a microbrew capital of the United States. Like you'll find something you like here. Like I found this.
Yes, the pot.
Remember that Drew Carey show? They had the Buzz beer was coffee flavored. I wonder if they should come up with like you should like 420 like alcohol, man. Alcohol with weed, like a weed taste.
Yeah, but honestly, I did drink quite a bit this week, so I've kind of sworn off alcohol for at least a couple days.
So have I. I've been drinking a lot more since I've been here. It's just the amount of alcohol. I'm even drinking some wine now, and I've had it. I've never tried it, but anyway, so you went to Germany, and a little piece of Germany came to me, which I will get into later. You've never listened to Rammstein, have you?
No.
You know who they are, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so they are one of my favorite bands of all time. I love these guys. And for you viewers out there, if you know who Rammstein is and the only song you know is Du Hast, you're doing yourself a disservice. Listen to the rest of it. But I just got their new DVD, Live in America, when I went and saw them in 2011 when I was in Seattle. And so I've been rocking out to that all day. But there's a documentary in there that's got some interesting points in it. We'll get into that later. But, hey, how do you like the new intro, man?
Oh, it's cool. I like it. A little more relevant to what we have been focusing on recently. And we'll still get the religious jabs in, but So far, politics have been the talk of the day, and it probably will continue to be for a while.
Well,
So yeah, it sounds good.
I don't think it's we started off with George Carlin, we ended with Jon Stewart. I can't think of two better people to get in there, but it's not that atheism is being taken out of the show, because I think you and I still, whether we're talking about politics or whatever, even when we talk about Trump a lot and all that other shit that's going on, being an atheist is for one thing, I think at its core, it means to not be a sheep. It means to question, to be skeptical, and to try to do right and be on the right side of history. And I think this intro, even though you don't hear the word atheism in it once, I think that's more what our point is not necessarily to be an atheist. Just don't be a dick. I think that's really what it really boils down to, is not to be a fucking asshole and to read the writing on the wall.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, or sheep, and it's not about, what you think. It's more how you think, and
right.
We've talked about that before. And if people use logical and come to logical conclusions, more than likely they'll end up on our side of the fence. So yeah, but it sounds good and great job.
Oh, well, yeah, thank you. It was, it's cool. I don't want to change that, and I was, I wanted to put you and I in there. So maybe next year we'll do that. But I was searching through material, and we have so much. Do you understand? Like, we have, after this episode, we're going to have 36 hours of you and I talking. Jesus Christ. 36 hours. Anyway, so before we get into the news, do you have anything? You got to have something. You got to have something interesting that happened over there in Germany.
Yeah. There's a couple, I guess, things that observations and a couple things that happened. First, when I landed in Munich, when we got out the plane, they weren't on our flight, but I did see some Orthodox Jews with the little Jew curls. It was kind of entertaining to see. There was 4 of them, so hopefully they sat next to each other, because we know they don't like women to sit next to them. But started off with that. I figured that'd be interesting. On the first day we got there, we got to, on the clock, go visit a castle. So that was pretty cool. It was King Ludwig II, and this was his 3rd palace. He spent 160 million gold bars on the palace. So everything, honestly, when you walked in, it just was golden. And I made the joke. We went on an English tour, mind you, of the castle.
Did you bust back to Austin Powers?
Yes,
I fucking knew it.
You knew, but check it out. So I asked my buddy, like, "Hey, you seen Goldmember?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I love gold."
Jesus
and
Christ.
He started cracking up. Well, this German older lady, she didn't find it so funny. If looks could kill, I wouldn't have made it more than one day in Germany. She would have killed me dead right on the spot. So that was kind of my introduction to German hospitality.
How was the language over there? Like, how'd you do with that?
It sounds like they're always angry, and I tried. Honestly, you know me. I understand Spanish. I don't speak it because I'm not comfortable speaking it, and that's the language that I've known my whole life. So there's no way in hell I'm going to try to speak German to these fuckers.
You had 13 hours of that playing. I would have gladly given you some Rammstein songs, and you should have just done the lyrics like you knew what you were talking about.
So luckily Google Translate it's pretty badass. You download the language, you put your camera over it, and it'll automatically translate it. You don't even have to take a picture. So menus and everything weren't that much of a problem. I did have an instance. Oh, they have Cuban cigars there. So even though I didn't have my weed, I had something good to smoke. But when I walked into the little cigar shop, I thought it was funny that the humidor, they had a walk-in humidor, the door was open. I mean, obviously you want to keep it climate controlled, so
right.
I thought it was weird. Nobody was in there though, so I just walked in and I didn't shut it because I thought there was a point to it. About 15 seconds later, as I'm looking at the Cuban cigars, I get yelled at by another older German lady about why I left the door open. I'm guessing by the hand motions, and she clearly doesn't understand me when I tell her that it was already open. But yeah, so it was.
I told you, if you just would have replied, "Volta Silas Vamenzan," you're like, what the fuck you mean the bed's on fire? What does that got to do with anything? That would have been fucking perfect. Ugh. All right, but you made it back alive, so that's good.
Yeah. So
old German women.
I was gonna complain about Ludwig's golden bars. I thought he raped the people from all their taxes, but I guess he. I was about to rant on it on the show about how it's fucked up, but luckily I did my research a little bit before calling here, and it turns out he borrowed money in his own name to finance his
it's
art.
a good thing he doesn't have a publicist or something. That could have been a nightmare. Could have been a lawsuit. what was that castle built? Like the 1600s?
I was 1860s.
It had his grandson Ludwig. Reminds me of Clockwork Orange. Anyway, yeah. What else?
So smoking is very popular over there. I would say like 65% of the population smokes, and it's perfectly normal to have dinner while smoking. And I guess I forgot how nice it was to have some fresh air laws while you're enjoying your meal.
I wonder because like with food, they're way more. They're a lot stricter on their food processing laws and anti-GMOs and all that stuff all over Europe. Obviously, smoking is not healthy at all, regardless of what Mike Pence says. But I wonder if over there you only are getting tobacco over there, other than all the additives. And I wonder if smoking. I don't want to use the word healthier. It doesn't really sound right, but you know what I mean. I wonder if you're just getting pure tobacco over there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I doubt it though, because I did notice at the stores that they do have the law. I know the United States has talked about it, but if you buy a pack of cigarettes, you see somebody with the hole in the throat, or somebody, coughing up a lung, or one man. I'm guessing he's suffering from impotence. He's laying in the bed all sad.
You don't even know what the fuck's wrong with him. Yeah, something really bad's got to be happening.
Yeah. So there was that smoking thing. Water is like a freaking scarce commodity. I drink a lot of water. I mean, in this 1 hour recording, I usually drink 2 water bottles. And over there, if you ask for water, they bring you a glass water bottle, and it's like 2 shots of water, and then no ice, right? So, and that's it. And over there, they do the old-fashioned recycling, which is a positive, I guess. I could see where it's probably my water problem, but they actually rinse out the bottles and reuse them.
Oh, nice.
So all the bottles, are like that. But water over there is sparkling, which is disgusting.
Carbonated?
You have to ask for.
Oh, those damn yuppies!
Bubbles.
I remember when I first started working at Santa Barbara, somebody gave me I asked for water, and they handed me, I think it's Spellegrino or some shit like that. It said there was a lemon flavor and I think an orange flavor, and they handed me the lemon flavor, and I don't like lemon as it is. And I was wondering why it looked like a bottle of 7-Up. It was green and yellow. I didn't even read it. I asked for water. The guy handed me water, and I took a drink, and I'm like, oh my fucking God, what is this? Hey man, you're in Yuppieville now, one of the most expensive places in the United States. This is what we drink over here. And I'm like, why? Where's the tap? Where's the fucking sink? Fuck this. It's disgusting. I hate carbonated water. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. So yeah. So it was a mission finding regular water bottles. Once we actually found a store, me and my American coworkers pretty much literally bought them out. We went the next day and they didn't have any more of the flat waters that we bought. So,
the flat water. That's funny.
And then I think the last thing I noticed, flying over Germany, and then also in the couple different regions we visited, solar power is everywhere. And I was just so jealous that, they at least 25% of the houses that I saw, houses and barns, had solar panels on them.
Wow.
And it was pretty cool to see that much energy being.
German engineering, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome. All right. Well,
I guess. Sorry. One last thing, and that's going to kind of tie us off into the next thing for me, is women in Muslim attire.
That's where I was just about to go.
See, you read my mind.
I was going to say, while sticking with Germany, yeah.
I have never seen so many, and I've been to all over California, Nevada, been to Oregon a couple times. I've never seen so many women with the full face veil as I did in the small town that I was staying in.
Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen one. I've seen the headscarf and covered to the wrists and to the ankles, but I don't think I've ever seen a veil like that.
Yeah, I've seen a couple here or there, or maybe like a couple women traveling together. But if I had to guess, definitely over 100 in the five days that I was walking around.
Wow. Definitely
over 100 people. And I was going to bring it up, I'm sure maybe you were too, that on Friday, my last full day there, Germany introduced a law to ban the full-face burqas in schools and other
including your car while you're driving around, pretty much any public place, or anytime you're really in public. So the chancellor put this forward. This is and that's why I was going to bring it up, is to see what you think about it. Because as far as I know, it's not passed yet. It's being introduced.
It just got introduced Friday. Yeah.
So I was going to ask you about this. So the main person behind it is, this is the right wingers of Germany. But basically, yeah, they're banning it all over in public places, including in your own vehicle. And Interior Minister Thomas de Maizière, I think is the way you pronounce it. Here's the main thing I have about it. His quote about this whole thing is that wearing burqas does not, he says, it doesn't fit with our open society. And to me, that's very contradicting. To say that we're an open society, which because of World War II and the shame that came with that and all that other stuff, Germany is one of the most open-minded countries that are out there. That doesn't seem, not respecting somebody else's religious belief, to me seems close-minded. Because this is one of those religious beliefs and rituals that really, you can argue that it is hurting the person, but it's not hurting anybody else.
Well, I would say that I can see where he's coming from, because most women don't have the choice.
Right.
If they're raised in that strict religious upbringing, they're forced to wear it.
Right.
So while there are some women that say, yes, we want to wear it, this is how we're comfortable, it turns out most women would rather not wear it. So I think.
Do you think a law is the best way? Because we've talked about this before. Everything that goes on when it comes to radical Islam, that it's really a war of ideas, and through time, because basically through generations, these things need to change, and it needs to be changed through ideas. I don't think this is the right way to do it. I don't think that's a good thing to do. Like I said, I see what he's saying, and yeah, I agree. But with the fact that, yeah, the person that's suffering is the woman in the burqa. I understand that, but again, this is one of those religious, they, regardless of how faithful they are, how much they truly do want to practice Islam, regardless of all that, it is a choice, and this is not one of those things that hurts other people. And that's where you and I have talked before. If people would treat religion like alcohol, out of reach of children, and in your fucking church and in your own house, we'd have a lot less issues.
Yeah, but on this one, I think I disagree. I think it does. I mean, from a male standpoint, yes, it doesn't hurt. It would only hurt you, or that's your wife, or whatever. But if you require your wife, or you require your daughters to do that, if not, You've seen stories of honor killings and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally. That's when something starts harming other people.
But if they don't comply with the burqa rule, they would fall potentially. They could be shamed or whatever the case. So to me,
yeah. But how is this? Now this is kind of this is really well. What I think it's Christianity that is prominent in Germany rather than Catholicism. I think
it's actually Catholicism.
Oh, it is Catholicism. Okay, so this is I think this is Catholicism forcing religious law onto another religion. That's the way I see it. I mean, I don't. We've said before, there's no religion that I necessarily put above all the others. But for me, I think about it like, I don't really see too much of a difference between this and somebody like, they pass a rule where if you eat out in public, you need to thank the Lord before you eat. Like this is a culture thing that they're trying to pass on to somebody else's culture because for once Catholicism has a better idea about how women should be able to behave in public.
Well, I
think
there's
a stretch.
There's a couple things though. I mean, originally the Quran doesn't call for women's faces to be covered. That's an interpretation of some of the most extreme followers. And obviously I'm not an expert on Islam, so.
But I guess more importantly, what's the difference between them telling the burqa deal that we're talking about right now, and them telling us that we need to do something religious when we're in public?
It's not we need to do something religious because they're not telling you to pray to Mary. I can see also. I mean, where you have an identification issue. I mean, these people are their entire face is covered. Germany has gone. I mean, right before I left, in the area that I was actually visiting, there was 3 terrorist attacks within a week's time or something. So they are facing the backlash of being such a diverse culture.
Sure. Maybe a better way to put it is if let's say atheists for some reason wore the A with a circle around it around their necks like Christians do with the crucifix, or the cross rather, and we were told we couldn't show that in public.
But see, I think it's a stretch on the comparison just because you're not saying all Muslim attire is banned. It's just the extreme covering of the full face. I imagine some kind of veil is over the head or headscarf is definitely still allowable, which millions of women.
But
only
who are we to say
wear that.
what's allowable? I mean, this is the 4th part of our First Amendment in the Constitution, is freedom of expression. How can, and we are taking that away. Like if we were to institute that in the United States, that I think is, you can, in my opinion, I don't think you can argue that if we were to institute that in the United States, that we would not only be hitting on freedom of religion, but we'd also be hitting on freedom of expression. And I don't know how you could argue that that's not what that is doing.
Well, I mean, the freedom of religion, the
that includes practicing and rituals, though.
Yeah, I guess it's a tough one. I mean, I guess you could kind of go back and forth on it, but I see where you're coming from, and I'm not 100% just for banning it, but it is a different thing when you see women wearing it, to be honest, and
so in the sense that you're watching a woman struggle and she doesn't even know it.
I think for when I've heard Muslim women who've beat the burqa, I guess, or have came across and
hashtag beat the burqa,
and you see that and you see how they embrace I guess a truly liberal society, they believe in, obviously all I can do is kind of mirror what the things I've heard from them, but they believe that things like the full face veil hold women back in their society. And
there's no disagreement there. I mean,
so
I get that.
Yeah, so it's just, I guess, how to help those women move forward, I guess, is the argument that needs to be had.
Well, we'll definitely follow that story. We got other things to move on to. First off, I don't really have anything about this, but just to bring it up, so we had 2.5 feet of rainfall hit Louisiana. About 86,000 people have sent requests to FEMA. While 30,000 were rescued, and obviously nothing is a good number, but I think for the destruction that's gone on over there, I was happy to see that only 13 are dead at this point. It's definitely, this is not Hurricane Katrina, but by no means is this not something that doesn't need to be paid attention to. For all of you guys, if you'd like to donate, I know Red Cross is doing something. Look up their website, and it wasn't that long ago that we had Katrina over there, and unfortunately, I'm sure there's some people out there that feel like they've just gotten settled, and then this happens. So anyway, like I said, unless you have something, I don't have anything on that, but we got 86,000 people that are needing aid from FEMA at this point. So Don't pray, do something. Moving on. You talked about climate control in the in the cigar rooms over there. So every month this year has been the hottest time. That particular month has, how do I put this? This January has been hotter than every other January, February, March, so on and so forth. And July of 2016 is the hottest month on record. And this record goes back to 1880 was when we started really monitoring the temperatures nationwide. So every month has beat every previous time of that year, and July being the hottest month in recorded history. But Trump digs coal. Actually, well, another thing, you went to Germany, and I went to San Jose, which was terrible. Much rather have been in Germany. And yesterday I found out that I am only an hour and a half from Cheyenne, Washington. So, or not.
I was going to say, goddamn.
Lindsay and I were calling it Washington all day yesterday. Cheyenne, Wyoming. I'm an hour and a half from there. And so we decided to take a spontaneous road trip. I'm like, hey, I've never been to Wyoming. Let's go. Cheyenne's a famous city over there. Let's check it out. That is the smallest. Modesto is a bigger city in every way, shape, and form than Cheyenne, Wyoming is. And when I was there, I saw guns, coal, and freedom. Saw that bumper sticker. It was, I saw one black person, no Hispanics, no Asians, one black person the whole time I was there. And it was Sunday, so it was kind of a ghost town. But it was cool. The architecture was cool. Everything was really old. Probably, same thing with you going to Germany and seeing kind of Norman Rockwell-ish architecture over there. So we went there and had lunch and came back. But anyway, Trump digs coal, and we're in the middle of, we just got this evidence about climate change. I don't know how people continue to deny this. And I would like to actually, I haven't done this, I would like to actually look up some of the scientists who deny it and see what their evidence is. Have you done this?
It's a lot of different things. They use the argument, like you said, we've been keeping record since 1880. So that's, what do you say, 140 years. So they'll say, the Earth. You say the Earth's been around for millions of years. You're only looking at 140 years of data. Right. That's a popular one that I get. I guess the counter argument is you still, when you look at those 140 years of data, you see an obvious pattern. Right now, it's obviously spiking, and like you said, this last month is the hottest ever. You would think that there would start to be some some things that kind of open up for them. But it's all a conspiracy. If they can't understand it, and that goes some of the things that when Nick comes on and talks about them, they're complex things, and if you can't understand it, it's easy to just dismiss it and say, oh no, it's fake. And in my opinion, that's most of the time what people do. They'll say that, oh, that doesn't make sense to me. But what does make sense is that some stupid thing, and they say, oh yeah, that makes sense to me, so that's probably what's going on, despite facts.
Yeah, agreed. So anyway, I mean, climate change is going to be a constant battle, and just another reason why Trump scares the shit out of me. But we'll get into Trump here in a minute. Before we do that, I got two other things. First off, Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates has directed the feds to stop private prison contracts. They were directed to not renew contracts as they come up for renewal, and if we have some time left on a current contract, to try to limit the scope of work as much as possible. We talked probably a month or so ago, about how America profits way too much on negative results. We profit on being unhealthy, we profit on being uneducated, and we profit on people serving time in incarceration. So I think that definitely takes it away. But she said the resources that private prisons offer in regards to education, most importantly rehabilitation, are not up to par with government-ran facilities. And even aside from all that, I think taking away the profit off of the negativity of somebody else that's got to be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, and applaud, I guess, the people that did this. I wouldn't be surprised if Bernie Sanders, behind closed doors, should get credit for it. I think he was kind of the biggest push for it.
I think there's going to be a lot of that over the next 10 years.
During the primary, and hopefully, and who knows, maybe the Obama administration was working on it previously, but he really brought that to the forefront of the issues. That how are we supposed to stop putting people in prison when people are making money off people going to prison? I mean, it's pretty simple to figure out where the problem is. Just look who's profiting, and then
right.
That's usually start there. So,
or as Chris Tucker put it, when in doubt, follow the rich white man. Yeah, I think it is a very positive step in the right direction. So other than that, I said I was going to get to this Rammstein thing later. So I just bought their Blu-ray cover of a performance that I saw them at in Seattle, and with that came a documentary that follows them from early years up through now. And one of the things that I didn't know why, I became a fan of this band in about 2004. Actually, Nick introduced me to them. A cousin of mine had their CD. Like, same thing with you when you were in Germany. It sounded very angry to me. I didn't understand why anybody wanted to listen to it. Years later, around 2004, 2005, Nick introduces me to Rammstein, and I fell in love with these guys. I started learning German because of them and all that. And what I couldn't understand was the last time they were in the United States was 2002. And their performances are just as good as their music. Their performances, they're all like pyrotechnics. It's just fucking crazy. It's amazing to see. And I waited for over 10 years, about 8 or 9 years to see these guys. And this documentary spells out why they left in 2002 and why they didn't come back. So their dream was to make it in America. They were one of the biggest bands in Europe, the biggest band in Germany. And they came over and started making waves in the United States in the mid 90s through the early 2000s. But they said they noticed a major change. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is something that we've talked about before, but I think we should probably get more in depth with it. They said when they returned after 9/11 happened, one of them was actually staying within eyeshot of the towers, and the first one got hit. He went outside and watched the second building get hit. And they went home, and then they came back and they did a tour again. and they said the entire attitude of America had changed. Everybody wanted to bomb someone. They wanted to kill somebody. Somebody had to be responsible, and that's to me that's very understandable. For a nation filled with individuals, the first reaction that you would have when you get punched is to punch back. I get it. Unfortunately, our president and his Speaker of the House and everybody else made us strike a country that had nothing to do with it. But they said their maid, at the hotel that they always stayed at, their driver, their band crew, everybody was so violent and so patriotic and nationalistic that it scared them, because these guys grew up behind the Iron Curtain. Music was the only release they had, because with their radio, much like Cuba has American influence because they had antennas that could reach radio stations from Florida. These guys were able to pick up West Berlin radio stations that would play American music. And for them, growing up with that, and then obviously the rest of the history of Germany, they didn't come back until it felt like to them in 2010 that America had calmed the fuck down on national pride, because they were scaring people that knew Nazis as they were growing up, and knew Jewish families that were persecuted not too long ago. This is the shit that scares me, and it's not just the national pride that some people could have with the United States, but also, what we're seeing with Donald Trump is the party loyalty shit. You're loyal to the man that won the primaries for your party before you're loyal to the country itself. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, a couple things. The first thing that came up when you said that is, even now, English music is very popular over there. I kind of tripped out because touring the factory at first, there was different 70s and 80s rock. I heard somebody bumping Papa Roach on the streets.
Papa Roach. That's funny.
Yeah. So people that didn't speak a word of English had English words on their shirt, like touchdown, or
just basic American phrases that nobody else uses.
Yeah, like one guy who I know didn't speak English because he yelled at my English translator in German. His shirt says, "I never finish any," and then it stopped like anything, but it stopped, and it was just like normal English writing on their shirts, but they couldn't speak a word of English. It was
dude, we are to them what Chinese lettering tattoo is to us. That's crazy.
I thought about the same thing. And eventually on one of the nights we went into a little pub, which really is, I want to say, no bigger than my bedroom. The place was tiny, and everybody in there was singing Sweet Home Alabama. I asked the bartender for whiskey, and she looks at me like I'm crazy, but everybody, including the bartenders, singing Sweet Home Alabama. Then Black Betty comes on. They're singing, like, they know our music. They're singing our music, but they don't speak English. So, it was pretty cool, I guess, to see the influence that we had over there. But as far as the nationalism and stuff that they talked about, I know personally, I was, in high school when September 11th, and even though I had planned before that to join the military, that had kind of, for me, cemented. After I graduated, I was gonna, enlist, and then, as you mentioned, George Bush took us into Iraq, and I had a conscience and mind back then, so right. I was able, that kind of got me out of it. But, I guess I was part of it, so, I don't know if something like that would happen now, exactly how, I would respond. But like you said, it's kind of, the natural reaction. But yeah, I'm not sure. I guess you don't really think about it when, when your adrenaline's pumping,
Right.
You know, whether or not it's a fight or something like this, where it's a war.
Right.
But
It's
I
just
guess,
it's just complicated. But I mean, I guess the broader question is where should your pride stop for national pride? I mean, mine is, I think, I mean, the best answer I can give to that question would be that I am happy to be an American. I'm fortunate. I enjoy it. Like I said, it makes me happy, but I can't, for me, and we've talked about pride before. I can't be too proud to be an American to any extent, because, I can be proud of the things my country has done, but in our lifetime, there are very few things that I can think of that make me proud to be an American. The first thing that pops in my mind is gay marriage. Because you can't have pride like this when you're a melting pot. Because that pride, we have Germans here, we have Russians, we have people from all over Africa, every continent. We have every group of people here of every walk of life. And as we've said before, pride puts you above. You have pride when you are putting yourself above someone or something else. And I don't know how a melting pot can do that. I mean, the country of Romania can be all proud as proud as they want. They're not a melting pot. We're about the only country that has it to this extent. So I don't really know. I don't know where that stops. Like, I enjoy our, when I hear our national anthem, and I don't get any form of religious when we have 4th of July. I am very grateful to anyone who has fought and died for anything from the right cause to the wrong cause, whether it's our Civil War or our Revolutionary War or World War II or even Vietnam or the war in Iraq. I'm grateful for that, but I don't know. Is it really a smart thing to be? Is it emotionally sound to be smart, to be proud to be an American when you have nothing to do with it?
Well, I think even though you had nothing to do with it, I think for me, I had a conversation with one guy over there, and we kind of talked about, it was actually about Trump, but the way that I put it forward was the things that I appreciate about this country, or I think that are amazing, is the fact that we have that we're a melting pot, right? And when he says he wants to ban Muslims or put a religious test on there, even though I'm an atheist and I would prefer you don't let any religious people in, I know that's just not how the United States was supposed to be. So the ideals of the United States, freedom of speech. In Germany, it's against the law to speak, say the war didn't exist, or to even to push Nazism is against the law. So just to say those things are against the law, so they don't have freedom of speech. And it's those, I guess, ideals that I'm really proud of as an American. But like you said, I had nothing to do with them. But I would say, like, if somebody were to ask me if I was proud to be an American, yes, because of the Constitution and the way it's set forward, even though it's not perfect.
But isn't there a difference there between feeling fortunate and being happy that you're an American? How can you really take pride in our Constitution?
Well, I think the fact that it's lasted, we haven't destroyed it yet. I mean, who knows if President Trump takes over? But I think, the fact is, as a civilization, as a people, right, we've been able to keep that document intact for the most part, make good amendments, allowing black people to actually count as votes, and same for women. There's things like that we've changed, but I think that document is really what sets us apart from the whole world.
No, it definitely is. But I think, like I said, I'm happy and I feel very fortunate, and I'm grateful to that I was born here. For me, I can't find any pride in it. But I guess I guess where the line would be drawn with me is when you use the tools that this country has given you, like the Constitution, and just the way our civilization operates, for the greater good. When you exercise your freedom of speech right to grant further rights, to protest, like I said, gay marriage, all the way back to the civil rights movement with the blacks, women suffering, all that stuff. I think that that's something that I could be proud of. I could be proud of ways that we use what we got to change this country for the better.
One quick note that I guess is relevant. I don't have too many other stories. So while I was waiting in the customs line to get back, it was actually from the German airport, but I noticed, because I'm observant, I guess, there was a mother, a daughter, and a son, and the daughter was about 19, 20. The mother was, middle age, and then the son was young, and the son had an American passport, and the two women had a European passport. And I heard the daughter joking. She was mocking, talking about the son, singing, "He's proud to be an American." So it was, it was, I guess it's relevant because of what we're talking about, but we were, I guess, kind of mocked, because of our proud, the pride of our country. So
Yeah.
It is an issue, and we've talked about it before. I guess pride is one thing. You never want to be a nationalist of any sort, I guess.
Right. Well, speaking of nationalists, we can move on to the man of the year, Mr. Trump. So did you hear this news? Michelle Bachmann has been named as his foreign policy advisor. For those of you that do not remember who Michelle Bachmann is, she was a congresswoman for the state of Minnesota and a 2012 GOP candidate for president. And her husband believes in Pray the Gay Away. He actually runs those types of therapy at his church. And she's on the record by saying homosexuality can be cured. And she also believes that a marriage, which I think most Christians do, believes that a marriage is between three beings. It's between the husband, the wife, and God. And she believes in being...
we got a little... Yeah, I got a little more crazy, too. The Lion King, it was gay propaganda.
Timon and Pumbaa were gay?
No, not that. I guess
Well, Nathan Lane is.
The lead, the guy that did the music was gay.
Elton John.
So
it's a circle of life.
No, not Elton John.
Tim
I
Rice.
guess the guy that actually, whoever was in charge of the, I don't
Tim Rice.
know the name.
Tim Rice was the producer. Elton John did the promotion. Did the music.
Yeah. So I thought, I was reading over the crazy thing she said. I thought, that one's pretty crazy. Then I got to, she said, I think if we give Glenn Beck the numbers, he will solve the national debt. So I think that was the craziest quote I could come up from her. But yeah, that's who's giving Trump foreign policy advice.
Yeah. Well, speaking of domestic advice, so like I said, there are three beings involved in marriage, which the man's job is to interpret what God tells him and lead the family, and the woman is to basically be a mother and a homemaker, but is to be a submissive wife, and that is a quote. She is to be a submissive wife because God is speaking to the husband. So here's what she had to say about Donald Trump during her endorsement. She said, "People want to live, mind their own business, and have a good job. And I think that's something Donald Trump understands. He is a common sense guy, not into political correctness. He has turned businesses around
for the wrong. He's taking a profitable casino.
Exactly. So he has turned businesses around, and that's what he wants to do with the country. Well, if as we were just saying. Yes, if your business is on the upswing and you want to be more of a backswing, or if you're heading to the stars and you'd rather just head down into the ground, that would be a good turnaround for Donald Trump. But he's a sensible guy, and he understands that people want to be, the first part about that is what struck me was he said, Americans want to be left alone. And I can't take credit for this because I'm not the first person to make this point, but I think it's hilarious that the GOP, the entire right wing, runs on government staying out of your life, get government out of the way, all this other shit, except for when it comes to a woman's right to choose, except for when it comes to when their friends collapse the fucking economy and you lose all your livelihood and need fucking help. Or when they force you to have a baby because you've been raped and you're, 17 years old, not even out of high school, they will not help you then, but you need to make sure you have the child. Like they're they want to be in our lives in all the wrong ways. I don't understand that. I don't understand that how nobody else actually sees this. It's not a hard thing. It's not a question wrapped in a riddle. It's pretty fucking obvious.
Ignorance is bliss.
It's like cognitive dissonance. That's what you were talking about earlier with when somebody hears something that they don't understand. They're going to refuse to believe it, which is and that's largely due to, I think that ignorance definitely has roots in religion. I mean, some of it, you're just an ignorant motherfucker, but I wouldn't say all ignorant motherfuckers are religious, but most religious motherfuckers are ignorant.
Very nice. So I'm not sure if you saw, and this just goes to show the kind of man that the Republicans have nominated, but not this time. But when he talked about running in the last election, he spoke with NBC about doing The Apprentice from the White House.
What?
Yes. He's since been fired from NBC for his derogatory comments toward Mexicans. But yes, he was actually spoke to them about potentially firing people from the White House.
Yeah. I've never heard him say you're hired. He sure does fire a lot.
I think he's broke, man. He's a whatever income possibility he'll work up. And that's Michael Moore's kind of theory, that it was, he wants to get out of it now just because he never really wanted the presidency in the first place.
Speaking of getting out, so it makes me happy when there's people that I admire that say the same thing I do, but I said it first. About 3 or 4 months ago, you and I were talking, and I said Trump has the opportunity to be one of the greatest Americans in history if he decides to come out and tell everybody, look, I'm a rich asshole, but goddamn, I am not as big of a rich asshole as I've been pretending to be. All you fuckers out there that supported me and voted for me when I talked about shooting people on Fifth Avenue, when I talked about Mexicans being rapists, my anti-Semitic comments, anti-Muslim, anti-women, and you fucking idiots still followed me. Fuck all of you. America, hopefully this is a good wake-up call. And then walks off the stage. But one thing was true. I got very tiny hands. And walks off stage. He could be one of the great saviors of America if he chose to do that. I said that months ago. Last week tonight, that was on this past Sunday, John Oliver said the same fucking thing. He's got an opportunity. He can do this, and nobody can really prove that it wasn't his plan all along. We can sit back and we can be skeptical about it, and we can say, no, there's no fucking way he is that big of a douchebag. Somebody brought him to his senses. But there would never be proof. We would never be able to prove that that was not his plan this entire time. And therefore, some people would think Trump was a great person. And some of these idiot Trump supporters may go, praise Donald Trump. I had no idea I was that big of a racist fucking douchebag, and he showed me the way. Hey, all the fucking better. Fine with me. But now I know he's heard it. I know he's heard my message that I had months ago, because as Oliver pointed out, that man sits around and watches anybody that will talk about him on national television. So we'll see what happens. We got a few more weeks left until this whole thing is over with. Ugh. So, yeah. You got anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. At the last bar, the guy comes up to me and my buddy, and he goes, I probably shouldn't ask you this, but do you think Trump's going to win? And as my buddy wasn't very, didn't know too much. He started saying, oh, yeah, and then I started going over the reasons why demographically it just wouldn't work, and then it kind of got boring. But he was interested in the politics. And when we talked, the Germans, they do have, free healthcare, free college. They do pay a lot of taxes, though. Talking to some local people, it's almost 50% of taxes, and these are not people making, tons of money. So
I think you could argue that their taxes don't cover, their military is not as big as ours. Like I think you could also argue that their portions of what their tax dollars do go to is nowhere near the budget that we have.
Yeah, it's true, but it's just they do pay very high taxes. And I guess the last relevant story I have is one of my buddies that we went with. It was about 10 of us in total. He saw a little gun store and he was all excited, like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy this gun and ship it back to USA." And I told him, I'm like, "Dude, I don't know the laws, but I'm pretty sure it's really hard to buy a gun in Germany." So on the last day with our trainers, he was asking the trainer, "Hey, what would I need to buy a gun?" 2 years of class to obtain a hunting license.
What?
You have to join the hunting club, and then get permission from the occupiers.
What the hell's an occupier?
The occupier. He said it's
I don't
you
think
guys.
they should be saying that word.
He said it's you guys.
Who?
The United States. Apparently, the United States and Germany are still at war, and
what?
Before you can buy a gun, the United States has to approve. So somehow we have authority in the country. I didn't know that. I know we didn't allow them to have a military. They have some kind of self-defense navy. But yeah, mind blown, huh? I had no idea.
I don't think we should be telling anybody how to handle guns in their country.
Good point.
Yeah, I think last point here. I was thinking about this earlier when you were talking about how their freedom of speech is kind of infringed on, because you're not allowed to deny the Holocaust or speak, pro-Nazi, that sort of thing. And I think they got to a point where it's understandable, because they proved that freedom of speech could be handled in the most irresponsible way. Obviously being the rise of the Nazi Party. And I think this is the closest we've come to that. I understand it. I support it. I support not being able to do that with Germany. I support the idea of it.
But I mean, I think we're running out of time if I'm correct. But
you are.
It kind of opens it's a different discussion, because once you say that, you're not threatening anybody's life by denying the Holocaust or inciting violence.
Right.
So that is an interesting thing to, infringe upon the freedom, I think.
No, and I guess I'm not saying that I agree with it. I'm saying I understand it. I understand why they would want to keep it that way. So, I mean, democracy has to come with responsibility. I think that's my point. Freedom of speech has an enormous responsibility attached to it. And as we're witnessing with Donald Trump, it can be used in a very, very terrible way. And unfortunately, as we were finding out, we're not the most responsible of civilizations. We have too many ignorant fucks that will listen to this shit.
No, I agree. But I think when you start going back and saying you can't say this about history, Like, so imagine if, they started saying, okay, well, you can't say that we put the Japanese in internment camps, or right now what they're saying makes sense. You don't want people to deny the Holocaust because, I mean, there's very real evidence that the Holocaust occurred, and
Right.
that's common knowledge. But when you have that power, who's to say that the people in power
Right.
don't abuse it?
No,
I think that's
it would just be nice to hear, Michelle Obama be able to say that she lives in a house built by slaves, and Bill O'Reilly doesn't feel the need to point out that the slaves that built the White House were very well taken care of. Fucking idiots. Anyway, lastly here, everybody, we need you guys' help. So we have noticed, we've done some market research on our viewers and all that, and we have people all over the world, and we are so grateful for every one of you guys that want to listen to what we have to say about current events on a weekly basis. It's mind-blowing. We love doing this. It's a lot of fun. Keeps us from we said we are nonviolent, and I think it helps keep us nonviolent, that we get to deflate once a week. But one of the things that we have noticed is that so we have our website, aorpodcast.com. We have our Facebook page, the Age of Reason Podcast, and then we have this show. And there seems to be a disconnect. The people that are following us on and we have a Twitter account, AOR_podcast, but it seems like the people that follow us on Twitter, the people that come to our Facebook page, the people that go to our website, and the people that listen to this show on a weekly basis do not do anything else. They do one, but not the other. If they are on the Facebook page or the Twitter, they don't listen to the show. If they listen to the show, they don't do Facebook or Twitter. So here's what I want to do here. I want to challenge you guys, and I want to see if we get anything from this. So I want you guys to start sending us questions. Send us anything. I don't care what it is. If it's something that you're going through, if you, especially when it comes to the atheist stuff, because unfortunately politics is at such a hype right now that we have to spend so much time on politics. We try to get to atheism and religion as much as possible. But one of the things that we would be able to do is, if you're one of those people that are on that fence, or you know somebody that's on the fence between atheism or religion, or you're dealing with coming out of the closet for atheism, or you're gay and you're dealing with battling your own religion, anything like that, anything you guys want, start sending us messages. Use the Facebook page more than anything else. Go on our Facebook page, the Age of Reason Podcast, and give us feedback. What do you want to hear more about in our show? Are you liking that we went more to politics and religion? What do you guys think? Because every month we increase in viewers on this show. And again, we are grateful for it, but we want to make sure that we're hitting the points that you guys want us to hit on. So please give us some feedback. Let us know. Once again, follow us at AOR_podcast on Twitter, the Age of Reason podcast page on Facebook, and for everything else, AORpodcast.com. Take care. We'll see you guys next time.